I'm Andrew, and this is Rich. We come from different generations but tackle life's biggest questions together. Today's topic is family. This is Floating Dock Talks.
All right, so for today's topic of conversation, I want to talk a little bit about family and kind of what that means to you. What would be your definition of family? Do you think that family stops at blood relatives, or do you see some of your close friends as family? Do you see some of your clients as family?
Great question. I mean, to me, family is taking on a new definition, especially for young people that are moving around a lot with great mobility. I mean, you think about your blood parents, but it's really the community around you that nourishes you, that connects you, that gives you encouragement, the sense of we want to help you be a better person. They're the ones who you call late at night when you need help. So family is kind of a fluid concept, and young people especially want to advance their blood family to be the group of people around them, really bring the best out of them, are there to support them as they navigate transitions.
For someone that might be struggling, maybe doesn't have a lot of blood family left, or maybe was rejected by their blood family, do you have any advice to sort of seek out and find people that they could consider family?
Yeah, we hear about mentoring a lot. Well, what about if you thought about mentoring to build a support system that looked like a family? It could be a professor that you really stayed in touch with and he cares about you over time, or it could be a new employer that you have, or maybe actually a guy you go to sit with at the bar and talk to that he cares about, he knows your birthday. Or it could be the whole notion of who you meet at the club. A lot of times the people we meet at our club and work out with become our real family. Might be a short-term family, but they're critical to who we are. So I think family is more of a description of what you need and how do you find that wherever you want to be and where you go.
Elephant in the room question for family members. I feel like it's pretty inevitable for conflict to arise with family members at some point in your lifetime. What would you say would be some of your suggestions or advice for when conflict does arise within family members?
Yeah. It's natural developmentally that your family is going to not want you to go away, and you have to push them away. It's a power trip. You've got to take on your own power, get your own identity, and they don't want to lose you as their son. So I guess the tips are is using language about, mom and dad, I love you, but I need to go do some stuff on my own. I appreciate your support. Here's what I need from you. And also coming back around, it sounds silly, but it's the note or it's the holiday or showing up at the right time and anticipating it's hard for mom and dad to let you go. It's going to be hard. And it's also you're kind of wanting the support, but you're also wanting to fly. I think they give you what called roots and wings. They want you to grow up with some roots, but they're also knowing you have to fly away. And that's hard for we old folks. We hate losing you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And when we grew up, we love you. We want you to have wings, but it's really tough on us because it changes our identity. Who are we when you don't need us as much anymore? And then you're trying to not need us, but boy, take advantage of what parents can give you and your family, whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm. Another question that kind of is almost a little personal to me is I feel like that I obviously love both my parents to death. I feel like a lot of times I have a real tough time kind of showing it or even expressing that to them. I don't think I express the gratitude to the level of which I'm feeling inside, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, what do you think is something that kids can do to parents to kind of make them feel that?
Yeah. There's really no rules because you're a personality. You're different than me. My son is different than me. So parents know your personality and they expect you to show gratitude in certain ways. Child number one may be real affectionate and be there all the time, write notes, check in, go out with him. Others, like, he's really distant, but I know he loves me and he shows gratitude. I think the key is to say, Mom and Dad, you matter to me. And make sure they know that you hear them. Because personality shapes how you express gratitude. The fact that you even know gratitude is important, that's the key. My wife is marvelous. She doesn't share a lot of verbal gratitude, but she writes these notes that are poetic. My son, as he's getting older now, is much more checking in on the phone a whole lot more than he used to. And before, it was like pushing me away. Dad, I got to fly. I got to get away. So I think there's not hard and fast rules because personality shapes how you share gratitude. But the notion that you understand parents would appreciate your gratitude, that they just hear that they matter to you. I think that's the key. They want to matter to you and they want to know that you heard them, even if you disagree with them.
We talked a little bit about thinking like a family last time we were on this boat together, whether that's financially, professionally, spiritually. What does that mean to you, and how would you give advice to other families out there who might be kind of struggling to think that in that way, if that makes sense?
Yeah. There's going to be a tremendous transfer of generational wealth. So I think parents, if they could understand, like, Dad, I don't waste money. I'm saving, I'm working hard, and I think I've shown that to you. But, I'd like to try to maybe get some real estate. I want to buy a house, and I'll take the smallest room, and I'll rent to 2 other people. It's really wiser for families to think like a family. And how do they set you up financially when you're early to take some risks, to gain some capital, to gain some equity? And in our case, we decided to help our son earlier in his life rather than later in life. And it could just be small things to subsidize his apartment rent, or maybe helping him get a down payment on a house that you're going to help make better for yourself. Generally, many parents are going to have something to leave their children. That's what the data says. And why wait till they're gone? Why not help our kids as they're starting out when you're struggling? As long as you're demonstrating responsible behavior, you're saving money you can, you're not buying stuff, you're buying experiences. That convinces me I'm going to invest in my child earlier to make his life easier down the line. So, you start off with very little money as a young person. They don't pay us like you'll get paid later on. So how can we talk money with parents and even refer to some people like Scott Galloway and what they say about how do we help young people navigate these times of low income but high needs? If you're not buying stuff and wasting money, why wouldn't a parent think, let's better invest in them now? Maybe it's in a better car or real estate or subsidizing their rent. We did that when they went to college. Now, some parents don't have resources. I get that for sure. And that's why I think it's smart for a family to talk about how do we help you stay home longer than you want to save a couple months' rent, or come home once in a while and take during transitions of work and live for free. We don't talk about money as families. And in your 20s and early 30s, parents who have any resources at all should be thinking, how do we invest in you financially, just like we did in college?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's helping pay off some of the loans, even $50 a month, because the compound interest on that is crazy. How do we think like a family, financially, certainly spiritually, and helping us navigate the fact that, it's hard to be a young person today. You got penalized. We older people have so many things in our favor. It's tough to be a young person today. And the skew is always to the older person. Tons of research on how older people are getting way too much Social Security, disability, some subsidies, discounts, and you guys have to deal with this amazing inflation. How do we help you navigate that? It's critical. But it's got to start with you being smart enough to have a discussion with your parents.
So that's another question I want to ask you. You talked a little bit about, first and foremost, having the responsible patterns of investing in yourself, investing in the right things. What does that look like for a younger person? Because you also talked about investing in experiences, which to me, I could say, going out to the bar and buying some drinks with some buddies might be an experience, but is that a wise investment? You know what I mean?
Well, I think you know the answer to that question. Yeah. We know from research the most important things in your early 20s is invest in yourself, which means learning, physical health, and relationships. Because it's in the 20s that you really develop your habits that become how you take care of your body, how you use a substance, whatever you do. And relationships are going to be your network, your next job, your potential partner for a while. So relationships are key. And investing yourself is go to workshops, go to seminars, go to podcast opportunities, learn from people you're trying to see as your role models of the future. Yeah, going to the bars is critical for relationships, but frankly, drink Bud and don't eat caviar. I mean, Look at how you spend your resources. You could go to bars and hang around, but put yourself on a little bit of a limit. Mm-hmm. There's so much evidence that the way you live as a young person is probably how you're going to live as an older person. So, if you're not sweating as much as you watch guys sweating in ESPN, you're crazy. Work out. If you're watching TV all the time and spend all day Sunday watching football, you're probably not sweating yourself, working out, taking care of yourself, going on hikes, meeting people, going to places where you'll meet partners or doing things you like. I mean, I spent way too much of my life and have clients who's, they're in front of the tube or they're hanging out with their usual friends doing the same thing over and over again. They're not building their social capital. Not smart in your 20s. Increase the probabilities of meeting people through social capital to give you opportunities to learn and grow and meet other folks. Sweat as much as the people you watch sweating on television. Work out. Physically, emotionally, relationships, trying things. That's a metaphor.
Speaking of television and watching it and time, one thing that I feel like I've struggled with in the past year of my life is just like I wish there were more hours in a day. I have, my 9 to 5, which is actually a 7 to 4, And then, I have my side projects that are taking up time on the side, which I'm trying to build. Also, have time to work out, have my dog. And I don't even have a family, or I always just stress myself out. I'm like, how am I going to fit this stuff in if I ever want to have a family later on? How does that even work? It feels like there's not enough hours in the day sometimes. And then could I not be watching TV? Because that's something that I like to do to relax, but it's just more hours out of the day.
Very interesting and a reasonably good question. There's nothing wrong with television. I love sports too, but know you're watching it to relax. Don't watch it to be dulled out, medicated, and frankly, just fill time. I'm going to make sure I see the Nuggets or the Knicks play, and it's on 7:30, and I'm going to watch it. But that's my reward, so I don't just turn it on to 6:30, watch the news, hang around, hope it comes on, and then do that. Yeah, it's wonderful to watch TV and relax or whatever you do, but know it's a choice you're making to relax, not just to fill time. Because that time is all you have. It's the best commodity you have to add in your relationships or yourself or side projects to gain social capital and maybe income. Yeah, this is not about an old man telling you that you shouldn't enjoy yourself. Not at all. But know you're doing it in this time frame because time is really very valuable. It's a great resource. And I spent way too much of my life just filling time rather than finding fulfilling time. I want to have my time fulfilling, not just fill time.
And do you have any practical tips in making that the distinction of the difference of the two?
Probably after I'm done saying, was it worth it? Like you and I have a chat once in a while, and we schedule it, and it's an hour. But man, it's friggin' fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't just filling time. I don't go to a bar just to fill time. I want to go to a bar because I might want to watch the TV and get a hamburger. Don't want to cook that night. Here's what I'm going to spend, and I'll do an hour and a half, and I'll go home and I'll then grade papers or write something or do my bills or whatever. And that's part personality.
Yeah.
And it's part learning habits that I'm going out to frankly just meet people and practice my skills of increasing probability of meeting cool people. I mean, I have tons of clients, some older ones who are older women and professionals, and they want to meet partners. Well, increase your probabilities. Put your time into being in places where other people are that have interests like yours. If you go to a bar, I mean, you got people all kinds of interest, and you hope you pick the right conversation. But if you like kayaking, get up to the reservoir and kayak, because who's going to be there? Other cool people who like kayaking.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your profession, kind of what got you up to this point?
Yeah. So I'm a guy who got a 64 on my New York State English Regents exam, was told not to go to college. And I happened to play basketball, got a chance to go to college, protested the Vietnam War, frankly, and then I came alive. I just started learning. So if you've ever seen the book, What Color's Your Parachute, a book of over 20 million purchasers who basically said, design your life, don't just live a life by default. So with that philosophy, I'm also a licensed psychotherapist. I've been a university professor, spoken in 46 countries. All of that time, what I'm trying to do is figure out, how do I help people get voice, to know who they are, and allow them to access opportunities so they design their life, not live by default. And I was fortunate to find great teachers, mentors, good friends, and it took a hell of a lot of risks to learn to try to see how could I design my life to get what I want rather than live by default, which gets back to this idea of how do you spend our time. Go to the bars, watch football, do whatever you want, but realize it's time and you made a choice to relax by it. So my whole purpose in life is to try to help young people especially think about, be more intentional about how you design your life. Take a ton of risks, take a lot of stretch assignments, do things that push you to learn and increase your ability to learn healthy habits and increase probabilities of meeting cool people who like things like you do.